Hey, it's big spoiler time again. If you haven't played Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony and have any intent to, please leave this video now or be spoiled on some of the most shocking plot twists I have ever witnessed. Throughout the Danganronpa series, there have been dozens of unfortunate individuals forced to partake in killing games, where the powers of hope and despair fight to see which will prevail. I, personally, was never a big fan of this running theme throughout the series. Hope and despair are such vaguely defined concepts, more so emotions than anything, and yet Danganronpa makes them out to be these forces in the universe that will tip the balance, to the point that every character just casually talks about hope and despair like they're huge parts of their life outlooks. I found this utterly ridiculous, which may be why my favorite character in the series is the first of only a small handful to reject this conflict entirely to focus on the bigger picture, and perhaps one of the characters to undergo the most tragedy to make it to his conclusion, the ultimate detective, Shuichi Saihara. When he is first introduced, Shuichi is a meek, timid teenage boy, not even thinking he's worthy of the talent that he has been labeled with, and it isn't hard to see why. He tells the protagonist Kaede that he just so happened to solve a murder case faster than his detective uncle or any other police officer, but when the man was convicted, Shuichi soon learned that the victim was a horrible person that drove the culprit's family to suicide. With that in mind and seeing the loathing look in the man's eyes, Shuichi couldn't stand his ability to find the truth, because it seemed to only create problems. At this point, Shuichi couldn't even look people in the eye after the look he got from that man. That was before he was forced into a killing game against his will, however, and in a killing game, the only way to survive is to find the truth in every single murder. And not once was the truth an easy one to find, especially when the first truth he had to unveil was that Kaede, the one person he decided to trust at the start, and in many ways the heart of the group, was the killer of the first-class trial. And it didn't take Shuichi long to realize this either. But he couldn't bear to share a truth that tore him apart so much, until Kaede outright asked him to. His hesitation to reveal this information is quite understandable and tragic. Kaede was the one person he opened up to in this killing game thus far. He couldn't bear to expose her and had to believe that there was a reason she did it. Of course, when he did reveal the honorable reason that she did it, it was even harder for Shuichi to watch her execution and have the role as the true protagonist thrust upon him. With her dying wish, though, he was able to at least ditch the hat he used to avert his gaze from others and look the truth right in the eye. From here on, the cycle repeats throughout the game, where Shuichi has no choice but to reveal the truth, only for the truth to, well, suck. In Chapter 2, they learned that the murderer they convicted, Kirumi, had killed Ryoma since he was already suicidal with nothing to live for anyways, because she needed to leave the school and make sure that the entire nation of Japan that she was practically in charge of was okay. In Chapter 4, he has to prove to everyone that local giant huggable teddy bear Gonto was the killer, a truth that Gonta himself had to break down over, as he didn't even remember due to some convenient memory wiping. In Chapter 5, he and the remaining survivors have to suffer the knowledge of learning that they're the only people still alive on Earth. None of these truths were easy to accept at all, but they were the ones Shuichi personally needed to unveil, and ones that needed to be known in order for the group to survive. This puts him in direct contrast with Kokichi Oma, an admitted liar that lies without hesitation all the time, sometimes for the sake of putting forth an ideal yet false reality, but often just for his own chaotic enjoyment. Meanwhile, Shuichi recognizes the importance of the truth and places his own happiness at risk to reveal it, even if it means telling small lies to get to the truth, much to Kokichi's frustration. Even still, knowing that the truth is necessary doesn't make it any easier for Shuichi to learn, especially with how weak of heart he is. Luckily, he was able to grow into a much stronger person throughout V3 with the help of a certain Kaito Momota. Practically adopted by the outgoing Kaito as his sidekick following the passing of Kaede, the two made up one of the most realistic friendships in the entire Danganronpa series, later joined by Maki Harukawa. Watching the three friends, all from vastly different backgrounds and personalities, grow as friends, bicker, and even fight, was one of the most enjoyable parts of V3. They were all able to learn from each other, with Shuichi specifically gaining a much stronger will as he hung out with Kaito, worked out with him, tackled class trials with him. Their relationship is at its highest point when, during Chapter 5, Shuichi slowly begins to piece together that Kaito is the killer hiding from everyone, but trusts that he would have a reason for doing it and hiding it for so long. It gets to the point where, even though he has already pieced it together, It gets to the point where, even though he has already pieced together exactly what happened, he considers lying to cover for his friend and help in whatever plan he had going. Although Kaito did come clean before Shuichi could consider that option, even still, he did a lot for Shuichi in terms of making him a more sociable, stronger-willed person, that when he passed, Shuichi was able to lean on Maki for support to make the pain a little bit less, which is more than Shuichi could say when he was alone following Kaede's passing. So, solid character so far, but I haven't even gotten to the one component that changed everything. When come Chapter 6, Shuichi, Maki, and the other remaining survivors learned that everything I just told you was one huge frickin' lie. Allow me to explain. According to Tsumugi Shirogane, the mastermind of this killing game, every single participant before showing up in the killing game was a fan of the Danganronpa series who auditioned to be placed into the latest real-life killing game. All of their pasts, personalities, interests, and memories were fabricated implantations that replaced their original selves, and everything they did up until this point was practically scripted by the writers of this killing game, Danganronpa 53. This destroys Shuichi. Everything he fought for was a lie. In his own words, I can't fight for a lie, can I? It plunges him into despair so much that he is temporarily unplayable, and control shifts over to Kibo, the one character clinging to hope. Kibo told everyone that they can't give up hope, they need to overcome Tsumugi with the power of hope. And then Shuichi speaks up with one of the most chilling lines in the series. What do you mean hope? I reject that hope. In a series so obsessed with hope as a force of good in the world, Shuichi is the first protagonist to reject it and realize that it does nothing but perpetuate these killing games. The audience watching them suffer wants to see them overcome despair and bring hope to the world, only for another group of 16 to suffer again and again and again. Shuichi realizes this cycle of pain is real. As he puts it, even if his past is fake, even if everything he did was fake, his pain was all too real, and he doesn't want anyone to feel that pain ever again. So he concludes that the only way to end Danganronpa forever would be to abstain from voting, so that neither hope nor despair win, even if this would cost him his life. When he's questioned if this would really make an impact, he proclaims that fiction can change the world. And, not to be too meta, but isn't that sort of the point of this entire list? Sure enough, Shuichi succeeds in his gambit for neither hope nor despair to win, ending Danganronpa forever. Fortunately spared with Maki and the other remaining survivor, Himiko, the game ends with the three of them looking on at the broken dome of their prison, preparing to enter the real world. Fiction can change reality. I understand that this has been quite rambly, but this ending speaks to me in such bizarre ways, and it wouldn't be the same without the involvement of Shuichi. Tsumugi had boasted about how she personally wrote Shuichi's character arc to become a stronger man, and how it ultimately meant nothing as a result. But clearly it did amount to something, as that emotionally strengthened Shuichi is the one that ended Danganronpa forever.